Russia is heading towards military and total defeat, as Putin already made his third fatal mistake, in addition to all the previous ones that he already made in the past. In addition to that, Wagner is given no more than 2 months until total destruction, and this is told to us by no one else other than the leader of Wagner itself, Yevgeny Prigozhin. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude, and let's go straight to the point and see some most recent footage, and today I got some extra cringe ridiculous material for you. So, we have this guy from one of the places in Russia called Chita, and one time he got a dream about President Zelensky. And before you even know it, somehow the Ministry of Defense of Russia or somebody else from the authorities, they figured this out and they gave him a fee or a penalty. And well, you might already consider this to be a ridiculous enough thing, but later on this guy decided to do an interview talking about Russia and basically penalizing him for a dream about the president of Ukraine. And guess what? Somebody from the Russian authorities saw this interview and they gave him another fine. But wait, there is more. Later on the guy from Chita did another interview about the previous interview for which he got penalized by the Russian authorities for a dream about President Zelensky, for which he got previously penalized as well. And for this another interview, you guessed it, he got penalized for the 3rd time. Well, that's the Russian justice system for you right here, right now. And speaking about the Russian justice system, on April 11th, in under 30 minutes, in 3 readings, the Russian government adopted and confirmed the law about basically online mobilization. And yes, you heard it right, in under 30 minutes. All the other previous important laws are taken, like you already know it, weeks or months or at least days. But over there it's about the sending people to Ukraine to defend the Putin's crazy ideas. All it takes is just under 30 minutes. And if you remember from my previous video, what it basically means is that besides receiving actual paper summons to the military, now Russian men will also receive this notification online, and since yesterday, this online notification will be considered as the real summons. But today we have some more news about this crazily ridiculous law, so hold on a second. First of all, besides those conscripts who are eligible to go to the military right now, any single man who is eligible to go military in Russia at all, pretty much at any age, can receive this online summons as well. The second thing, according to the creator of this ridiculousness, Andrei Kartapolov, as soon as you have this online notification in your online government website called Gosuslugi, and it doesn't even matter if you see it or not, as soon as this notification arrives to your online web portal, this is when you're already legally obliged to go to the military enlistment office. And from the moment you receive this online notification, you are already not allowed to leave Russia. The next crazy thing is that the Ministry of Defense of Russia will be in contact with other government services, including the basic utilities, in order to get your personal information, such as your real address and not the address where you are registered, which can be different. And because of this, it will be much easier for the Russian government to find where your real address is. And ultimately, even if you delete your profile on this government website called Gosuslugi, it does not matter, because as soon as the government sends you this notification, this is when you're legally obliged to show up in the military enlistment office, which basically means it's not up to a person if he or she wants to go to the army. It is now the government itself decides that you have to go to the army. If you don't go, you'll be criminally prosecuted. And just when you thought that this could not be even more ridiculous, Andrei Kartapolov went ahead and addressed all the citizens of Russia living abroad. He basically said that take a 1-year vacation from your work, come back to Russia and join the military. because according to him, the government will know if you do have a second or even a third citizenship, and in case they won't, they still can find you. And pretty much yes, taking a look at everything that is happening right now in Russia with this pretty much second wave of mobilization, you can already guess what the Russian authorities said, such as for example the press secretary of Russia Dmitry Peskov, who mentioned that do not worry, at this very moment there are no talks about second mobilization in Russia. Don't worry. And so, who do you think originally came up with this crazy, ridiculous idea? Was it this Kartapolov guy? Most certainly no. I just personally do not believe that some just random guy from the Russian authorities proposed such incredibly unfavorable law among Russian people, which is yet so desirable for Putin. And then this entire law passes in all 3 readings in the Russian Duma in under 30 minutes. No, I personally think that Kartapolov is just the face of this law, so it will be him who will be facing prosecution, hatred and confusion from the Russian citizens and covering for the real mastermind. While the real mastermind, even though it is very complicated to call him a master or definitely a mind, I think that the real creator of this is Putin himself. And this is just one of the critical mistakes that Putin has made recently, and we will talk about the other 2 very soon. And so if you also think that this online mobilization law in Russia was created by Putin himself, or at least someone extremely close to him, and not just some random appeared out of nowhere Andrei Kartapolov, can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel to see if I'm not the only one who thinks this way. You can also check my second channel, The Russian Dude Clips, where I post under 1-minute summaries every single day. The link will be down below. And so yes, some of these statements from the Russian authorities I had to find directly on the Russian sources and on the Russian websites, because it will take some time for the Western media to receive all these details, react to them and publish them. But just because you're watching this video at this very moment, and I'm so thankful for you for doing this, you already know everything there is to know about this situation at this very moment. And as you might imagine, or maybe some of you even experienced it themselves, some Russian websites are inaccessible outside of the country. And the only way for me and so many other people in the world to read the news directly from the source is whenever we use a VPN service, which, by the way, the Russian authorities are trying so much to make it look bad that whenever you use a VPN, some of your personal data can be stolen or any ridiculous, crazy, unjustified things like this. And so, if you want to finally prove the Russian government and Russian propaganda wrong, and at the same time support the channel, please give a chance to the sponsor of today's video, Atlas VPN. But what is this even VPN? Well, this is a virtual private network which will allow all of your internet traffic to travel safely through a protected and encrypted tunnel. And this way it protects you from the data breach, malicious software, and of course the Russian hackers. And I was able to get an incredible deal, so get ready for this. Not 50, not 75, but 83% discount for a 3-year deal with 3 months for free, and it only comes at $1.83 per month. And in order to activate this limited time offer, please use my link in the description. It's extremely easy. But wait, there is more. With Atlas VPN you can finally use the public Wi-Fi, you can finally see movies and TV shows on your favorite streaming platforms, such as Netflix, which recently have been unavailable due to geolocation restrictions. And so right now, if you want to become a part of the Russian Dude VPN gang, please use my link down below. Make sure to take advantage of this limited time offer, which gives you 83% discount, 3 months for free, and unlocks all the features of safe VPN browsing for only $1.83 per month. And if you are still not satisfied, there is a 30 days money-back guarantee. Thank you so much Atlas VPN for sponsoring this video, and now back to the program. Alright, just a couple more words about Ukraine's final preparations for its counter-offensive and the Western support, and then we'll talk about the situation in the east of Ukraine and why it's only 2 months left for Wagner. In this first video we can see another batch of Ukrainian soldiers who have just finished their training in the United Kingdom and now are coming home to protect their motherland. Next we have a picture of an Australian armored combat vehicle called Bushmaster, which is already used by Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines. Next we go to Canada, and right here we can see the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal, who arrived to this country to have some negotiations with the Canadian leadership. Obviously right now the contents of their negotiations are still not yet disclosed, but as you can see on the side of a Ukrainian plane where Denis Shmyhal arrived, there is a Ukrainian flag, a plane and a praying hands. So maybe, just maybe, he came to Canada to ask for the military planes. And speaking about the planes, the country of Bulgaria has confirmed that they are in talks with Ukraine about supplying them their own MiG-29 fighter jets, on just one condition: in case the Western countries will agree to reimburse Bulgaria these planes with some more modern machines. And then the Union of the Western countries as a whole also confirmed that they will be strongly considering supporting Ukraine with its own planes after other countries, such as for example Poland, will send their military jets to Ukraine, which Poland, by the way, already confirmed that they will do it. Here is a short 5-minute documentary about the work of Norwegian air defense system called NASAMS, which Ukrainians are already using on their front lines as well. And as always, I uploaded the entire video to my Patreon, the link will be down below. Alright, and now as promised, let me give you a very brief update from the east and why Wagner only has 60 days left. But first of all, according to Russian sources, an unidentified drone has fallen in Belgorod airport. Once again, very suspicious. Then we have the report by the Institute for the Study of War, and if you want, just say it with me, because you already know what is this about. Russians continue their offensive along Svatove-Kreminna front line with absolutely no success at all. Then let's take a look at this map, which shows us the changes in territorial control. And as you can see right here, Russians advanced a little bit to the southeast of Kuzmine. But as we go more to the south, we can see that Ukrainians expanded their liberated territories to the southwest of Spirne. Then we go a little bit to the west, and as you can see right here, the area to the west of Razdolivka, the contested area, has decreased. And ultimately, as we go to Bakhmut itself, we can see that Russians were able to advance approximately only 1 block closer to the city center. But at the same time, according to Ukrainian sources, they were able to destroy a Russian artillery firing position to the south of Bakhmut. And then right here we have a short video from the inside of Bakhmut, which shows the Ukrainian soldiers who are fighting against Russians, and then the Ukrainian reinforcements came and helped them to defeat Russians. Then we received the most recent statements from the leader of Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, who said that his paramilitary group is controlling approximately 80% of the city. But according to him, Ukrainians are not planning to leave it, and there are extremely big and fortified positions of Ukrainians to the west of Bakhmut. And at this very moment, according to him, the main responsibility of Wagner is to clear all the sectors of Bakhmut which are already under the control of Russians, which basically means they are not prioritizing to advance in Bakhmut at this very moment. And in addition to that, what is even more interesting, according to Ukrainian representative Serhiy Cherevati, who refers to Yevgeny Prigozhin, he basically says that Wagner will only exist for maximum 2 months more. And the main reason for this, once again, it is because the personnel of Wagner is critically low and they're no longer able to recruit people from the prisons. Pretty much the majority of their workforce came from the prisons since February of this year. And as we all already know, the tactics of Russians in Bakhmut was just to send waves after waves after waves of soldiers with no regards to human life. So obviously the numbers of Wagner private military company has been depleting extremely fast, with no resupplies at all for the last several months. And one of the main reasons why Yevgeny Prigozhin is no longer able to recruit people from the prison, it is because of his constant confrontations with the Ministry of Defense of Russia and just the Russian authorities in general. Whenever Wagner was relatively successful, and to be honest this was the only Russian military unit which was successful quote-unquote in Ukraine, he started to become pretty ambitious, which Putin did not like. And so, as a result of all this, with the critically low number of personnel, impossibility to resupply themselves, Wagner, as mentioned previously, will only last approximately no more than 2 months, which is coming in perfect timing with Ukraine's upcoming counteroffensive. Right here I found a pretty interesting video where a Ukrainian soldier is going to buy some hot dogs and coffee for his comrades, and then he goes back to the front lines and there are explosions and shooting around him happening all the time, but he still delivers the order to his friends. And the entire video is almost 2 minutes long, and yes, I as always uploaded it to my Patreon. The link will be down below, and there is 1 week of free trial. This situation around Wagner is just one of the many problems for the Russian army and Putin himself. And this most recent decision by the Russian authorities, which most likely came from Putin, to basically online mobilize anyone whoever they want, is just one of the critical mistakes of Putin. The other two, according to Alexei Danilov, is that Putin is running out of time. And what he means by that is that the Russian army did everything possible to stall the invasion as much as possible, without letting Ukrainians to counterattack, with the only hope to buy themselves more time, and hope at the same time that the Western countries will get tired of supporting Ukraine, since they see no lack of progress at all. But as you can see, Putin miscalculated one extremely important thing: the will of the defenders of the country. And this is his second critical mistake. He was hoping that the situation will somehow mysteriously resolve itself, but as you can see, nothing much is happening, with Ukrainians only growing stronger every single day. And the third critical mistake of Putin is the decision to invade Ukraine itself. Because once again, as previously mentioned in several of my previous videos, most likely his closest advisors, out of fear towards Putin, they were telling him that don't worry, Ukraine is such a small country, no one cares about it, no one supports it. We will be able to capture it in a week, maximum in 2 weeks or a month. So we will be able to do it. Let's invade. And Putin, based on these lies, decided to leave a legacy behind him about attaching some more territories to Russia, such as, for example, once again Donetsk regions, Kherson, Zaporozhye, and obviously trying to keep Crimea. But once again, he failed. And so yes, as a result of all this, the endless circle of failures, defeat and constant lies, it is no wonder that even in the past the biggest supporters of Russia started saying that the country is heading towards military total defeat. And it is not just on the front lines where the defeat of Russia is physical and Ukrainians demolish the military vehicles of Russians and their personnel, it is also the economically and politically. The budget of Russia is suffering so much, the economics will most certainly have severe consequences, and the relations between the Russian authorities and the rest of the world are damaged pretty much for an extended period of time. And all this, it is because one guy just decided to leave his name in the history books, but he was not counting on which side of the history his name will appear. Thank you so much once again Atlas VPN for sponsoring this video. Please make sure to check my Patreon, there is still 1 week of free access. Thank you so much for attention, товарищи, and see you tomorrow.